Okay, for today's video, we are going to go over the Safari Ltd Carnegie Collection Concavenator. Um, yeah, this is the figure I'm so excited to get, and we're just going to get into everything. So, like I said, I'm super excited to get this figure and review it, especially to finally have this figure in the collection. For one, it's an amazing standalone figure, but it also helps me get closer to my goal of completing the Carnegie collection. And right now, out of all the sets I'm collecting, like the regular Safari line, the Hammond collection, Collect Day, Beast of the Mesozoic, this is the line that I'm trying to complete the most right now. Just because, with the line being retired and still being a really popular line, it's just the one that I'm focusing on right now. So getting some of these harder pieces like this one to get in the collection is definitely my main goal right now. And usually I try to do individual reviews for only like brand new, really good condition figures. But I sort of made an exception for this video for two reasons. One, this is a super rare figure that is very hard to find. The only other ones that I can even remember seeing listed was one for sale on eBay that was way more expensive. So I got this figure for a little bit over 20, like somewhere between $20 and $30 with shipping. And the only other one listed on eBay right now, I believe, is like $90-something. So it would probably end up being like $100 with shipping and taxes and everything. And the only other one besides that I can remember seeing is some website that's in like Ireland or somewhere that I can't remember what country it was in, but they didn't ship to the US. So this was pretty much my best chance at getting this figure. And this is from that same seller that I bought the lot, which just recently came up on the channel, that featured this Albertosaurus figure. But when I ordered that lot, I noticed that seller was continuing to list a bunch of other rare safari figures. So I started checking Mercari like every day, like every few hours, just to see if they were going to list something that I really wanted. And they just kept listing stuff. Some of the rarer stuff that they listed that I missed out on was the Carnegie Ichthyosaurus, the Safari Enostransavia, and the Safari Scutosaurus. The Scutosaurus I remember being sold out before I even found out about the seller. The Ichthyosaurus, I think I had the chance to maybe have bought it, but it was in not the best shape, so I didn't buy it. And one other one, the Enostransavia, is sold out before I even saw the listing. So yeah, this was the one, other than that lot of three I got, this was the only one that I really wanted, that I really even had the chance to get, that they listed. But luckily, I was the one who saw this one. Literally, when I saw this one, it had only been listed up for like a minute, so I ordered it straight away. And this was actually while I was on my way to the museum, where I picked up a figure and a book, and I have that whole video on the channel, so I'll put a link to the museum video. But yeah, at the time whenever I ordered this figure, I could see that it had a few paint chips like here on the top of the sail or spine or whatever, and I could see, after I ordered it, I realized that the hand was broken and only had one finger. But honestly, like I said, with how rare and hard of a figure this is, I was willing to put up with a few minor issues for me. I mean, I know it's an issue if you're wanting like perfect condition figures, but for me, just getting this figure, even in not the perfect shape, was fine for me. And yeah, let's just get into some animal info about Concavenator. Concavenator is a Carcharodontosaurid that lived in the early Cretaceous in Spain, that had a crest or sail or hump on its back. I've heard different sources say different things, so I'm just going to list all three of what I've heard it be called, which was possibly for display or thermoregulation. Most of the stuff I've seen leans towards it being for display, which I think makes the most sense to me as well. And it is one of the smaller Carcharodontosaurs, also being a more primitive Carcharodontosaur. It is closely related to the other spine Carcharodontosaur, Acrocanthosaurus, and which both are not in the subfamily Carcharodontosauridae, which feature the really big Carcharodontosaurs like Giganotosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus. So all four of these theropods are in the group. So all four of these dinosaurs are in the group Carcharodontosauridae, but Giganotosaurus and Carcharodontosaurus, out of these four, are the only two in Carcharodontosauridae. I had to look back just to make sure that was right, and that was. But yeah, like I said, all four of these are in the group Carcharodontosauridae. But even though Acrocanthosaurus isn't in that subgroup or that subfamily, it is still a very large carnivore. And Concavenator is also related to the theropod Allosaurus, since Allosaurus is the dinosaur most closely related to the Carcharodontosaurus that is not in the group in the Carcharodontosauridae group. But that group, the Carcharodontosauridae group, is in the group Allosauroidea, which includes Allosauroidea and Carcharodontosauridae. And also the possibility that the groups like Allosaurus possibly became the Carcharodontosaurs. And Concavenator lived in the La Herguina Formation in Spain, where it is possibly was the largest predator in the environment, at least largest terrestrial predator, where it would have hunted prey like Mantellisaur and Iguanodont. In this formation, it seems to be like a very aquatic or a formation that there was a lot of like, it was maybe like a swamp or river system or like a small, like right on the coast or something, because there's a lot of like aquatic life as well in this formation, and there's not as many terrestrial dinosaurs, or at least there's a good mix of terrestrial and like aquatic life, aquatic organisms in the environment that have been discovered. And now we'll just get into the figure itself. So Concavenator possibly had feathers or quills on its arms and possibly on more parts of the body, but there is some controversy about this. Like this, there's quill knobs, or what some paleontologists believe are quill knobs on its arms, but then some paleontologists argue that they're muscle attachment sites. So there is some controversy. So the fact that this figure doesn't have feathers or quills, I'm not going to consider that an accuracy or inaccuracy, just because there's debate as to whether or not it should have that. And one thing that I will mention, the figure has maybe slight crest, and maybe should have slightly larger crest above the eyes. I think it has tiny ones, but it possibly could have slightly larger ones, I believe. And the head looks really awesome. It's got that nice Carcharodontosaur head, like the Giganotosaurus as well does, where they've got that nice like rounded look that the Carcharodontosaurs all had. And this figure specifically is in the 125 scale, which means this figure is actually in a larger scale than most Carnegie figures, which are mainly 140 scale, like this Giganotosaurus. Meaning that this figure is actually 1/25 the size of an actual Concavenator, which also gives you an idea of just how huge Giganotosaurus was, considering this figure is in 140 scale. And as you can see, this figure dwarfs this figure, but really this figure, the Giganotosaurus figure, is 1/40th scale of the size of an actual Giganotosaurus, and the Concavenator figure is 1/25 the size of an actual Concavenator. So that should give you an idea of just how huge a dinosaur like Giganotosaurus really was, because Concavenator standing straight up would be like eye to eye almost to a human. So it's still a really good sized animal, but Giganotosaurus is just that huge. And the Concavenator figure really has no major inaccuracies, unless you want to say it should have the feathers or quills on its arms. But like I said, there's some mixed stuff on that. And then also maybe some slightly larger crest. That's the only thing I even think you could really complain about this figure. Maybe it being a little skinny, but like I said, nothing really major that I really have any gripes with. And I just really love how this figure looks. The colors look awesome. I love the red and this like creamish white on the body and the creamish look on the head. It's just amazing, an amazing looking figure from all angles. Well, there actually is one inaccuracy, I guess. It's standing on the tail, but obviously this is just so it'll actually be able to stand. I think some people have been able to get theirs to stand without the tail, but that's really the only major inaccuracy. But, you know, because it kind of needs it to stand, I understand why they did that. But I really do love this figure. Like I said, the colors, even like the brown stripes and stuff with like that really bright sail or spine, whatever. And like I said, the model itself just looks amazing, the mold and everything. And I mean, really, for it to look this good, it's not that surprising considering it is one of the later Carnegie models. And I believe that last group of Carnegie models, that late 2000s group, like the 2015 to like 2010-ish range, some of those models are some of the best dinosaur models and prehistoric animal models I think we've ever had. So, just, it's not surprising to me that this figure is as amazing as it is, to me at least. And this specific figure has a broken hand, and some paint chips, like I said, on the sail, right here, and right here. And obviously, like, if you could find a brand new version of this figure, it shouldn't have that stuff, and even like a little paint chip on the tongue. But that's just where this was a used figure that I got from an eBay seller. But really, I'm honestly not that upset over it because, you know, it almost makes it seem like an actual animal because, you know, some animals in the real world would, like, get into fights with other animals and, like, lose limbs and stuff. So just having an animal that has a few, like, scars on its body, like the paint chips, or a broken hand, like some dinosaurs would actually break a hand while surviving. It's not the biggest issue in the world. Like, obviously, I would like it better if it did have the 3 fingers and didn't have the paint chips, but I'm very fine with it considering the price I paid with how hard of a figure this is to get. And also, Safari Ltd has remade the Concavenator in the Wild Safari line, which they seem to be remaking most of the Carnegie models, like the Concavenator and Albertosaurus, in their current line. And I'll just be completely honest, I really prefer this model to the updated Concavenator. And it's not as much that I dislike that figure, but more that I just really love this figure. In fact, whenever I went to that museum that I mentioned, they had the Concavenator, and I considered getting it, but I ended up going with something else, which you'll see in that video. But yeah, if you haven't noticed, the Carnegie line, or the Wild Safari regular line, has started to remake, or not started to, they've been doing this, but they've been remaking a lot of the retired Carnegie figures. So some figures that have been retired that they haven't remade, like the Carcharodontosaurus, I would not be surprised at all if we end up seeing an updated Carcharodontosaurus anytime soon by Safari. Like I mentioned, the Concavenator got remade, the Albertosaurus got remade, a bunch of the retired figures in that Carnegie line have been getting updated figures in the regular line. So I wouldn't be shocked if any of the older Carnegie lines or any of the just older regular Safari line that haven't had updated figures get updated figures anytime soon. So just stay tuned for some cool stuff like that because Safari is announcing new figures as we speak. And now I'm going to go over the featured documentaries. I'm not aware of any documentaries that feature Concavenator. However, it does appear in Jurassic World Lost Kingdom, not as an actual living animal though, but as a display. I wish we had some documentaries with Concavenator because Concavenator is a really awesome dinosaur, but unfortunately we just don't have much with it. And now we'll go over the featured figures. Actually, there is one figure that I haven't showed off yet that I wanted to compare to this figure, and that is the Hammond collection Concavenator. This is another Concavenator figure that I recently reviewed on the channel. So it's kind of funny. I had literally not reviewed a Concavenator figure on this channel, or I didn't even have Concavenator in the collection for a while, and now I literally have 2 reviewed on the channel. And what's funny, even in that review video, I mentioned that I would love to get this figure at some point. So it's kind of funny because I literally ended up ordering it the next week after recording that video. So that's just kind of a little funny thing. But yeah, definitely like both of these figures. But if you know me, I'm more of an accuracy person, and I just really love the Carnegie line. So I definitely prefer the Carnegie Concavenator to the Hammond Collection Concavenator. But yeah, this is the Jurassic World Hammond Collection Concavenator, which I also use to tease this figure in the upcoming videos video. And then, like I said, this is the Safari Ltd Carnegie Collection Concavenator. We'll just get the figures as we go. Then we'll get some more Carnegie figures. This is the Safari Ltd Carnegie Collection Giganotosaurus. This is a figure I've had in the collection for a while, even before I started recording videos, and it's one that I really love. This is the Safari Ltd Carnegie Collection Albertosaurus, which, like I said, I bought from the same seller, so I'll put a link to that video. And then I have the Safari Ltd Allosaurus. Then we have the Pterobibitat Acrocanthosaurus. I was actually considering using this one or the Carnegie model, but this is one of the rare instances that I really prefer another figure to the Carnegie model. The Carnegie Acrocanthosaurus is just not that great. The body itself is okay, but the head is horrible on that video. I've actually reviewed that figure, so I'll put a link to that video, but you can see why I have so many issues with that figure. Then we have the GeoWorld Jurassic Hunters Carcharodontosaurus, we might be having some more Carcharodontosaurus stuff coming up soon, I'll just say. And if you know what I've said is coming up in the upcoming videos video, you might have an idea of what I'm talking about. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and that's pretty much it. Like I said, this is a really great figure that's really hard to get, so if you ever get a chance to get this figure, I would definitely recommend getting it. It's an awesome figure, but like I said, it's super hard to get, especially for a good price. But maybe you can look up and find this figure on Mercari, or find another figure on Mercari, and if you want to use my Mercari link, which I will put in the description, you can. And you will either get $10 off 30 or 25. It's one of those two, I'm pretty sure. And it's a pretty good deal. I actually used the deal for myself and have bought figures before. And it definitely, there's some stuff on Mercari that you'll probably want to get. I mean, I've bought multiple things on Mercari already. I personally maybe prefer eBay. I probably do prefer eBay just because there's usually more stuff. But just how Mercari works itself, it might be a better app. I definitely like both of the sites for buying used figures. So I'll put a link to that if you want to get some figures. And if you use my code, like I said, you'll get $10 off a $30 or $25 purchase. And it'll get me $10 to buy some stuff. I think whatever it is, it'll get me some money to buy some more figures as well, so y'all can see some more reviews on the channel. So I consider that a win-win. But like I said, thank you all so much for watching. And this is definitely a figure I would recommend picking up if you ever get the chance. So once again, thank you all for watching, and I'm out.